friends, welcome back to the GEMS video. This month my presentation is primarily indicated for physicians, and this was a title for my presentation at the Challenges in Diabetes Convention at Mumbai. Closing the loop in diabetes, almost there. My disclosures. Over here is a guy and he is looking at with surprise and with the hope that these insulin pumps currently available will eventually transform into automatic devices. And this is the question: when are we going to close the loop? When will this be fully automatic? Recently, in 2016, we published a review on the use of insulin pumps in India as an alternative therapeutic strategy in diabetes, adding the Indian experience to a global perspective. And we found more than 90% of pump users reporting improvement in the quality of life, and majority believe that the pump met their expectations, and more than 90% admitted that the pump met their expectations and they are satisfactory using the pumps. But still, there were a minority who said that they are not happy with the pumps. Still they are having glucose excursions. Despite being on insulin pump, they are still experiencing hypoglycemias. Earlier, in the year 2007, we initiated the sensor augmented insulin pumps, and this was the beginning. As you can see over here, the pump is displaying the glucose value as measured by the sensor, and there is a wireless communication between the sensor and the insulin pump. And that was the beginning of real-time insulin pumps, which led on to another innovation, the 530G or the bio insulin pump. And this was our first patient, and that was in 2012 on bio insulin pump with a low glucose suspend mechanism. So the pump will shut down the delivery of insulin when there is a hypoglycemia. But still, the question is, when will this be automatic? We have been listening to this question for probably more than 4-5 decades, and this is one of our patients with a similar question. And now the physicians have a solid, meaningful answer to this question, a realistic answer to this question. It's soon going to be here. It is soon going to be here. And the 640G is already there in India for more than 6 months. And this is the first pump or the first technology with a predictive glucose suspend mechanism. The insulin delivery gets suspended at least half an hour before the onset of a hypoglycemia. And that is quite amazing. And it's amazing because the insulin delivery gets into a normal value. And again, when the glucose value gets normal, the insulin delivery resumes. So let us go through the spectrum of the closed loop systems. So here on the left end of the spectrum, you have the fully open loop SAP, that is the sensor augmented pumps, which we just saw. And then you had the auto suspend when the glucose is coming down. and then soon going to have a hybrid closed loop system when the closed loop is running throughout the night, and during the daytime there will be meal announcements, and the future will be probably multi-hormonal designs. So what is the real barrier? Despite all these technologies and innovations and integration with the currently available devices, what is a major barrier for a full automation? And this is a barrier: exploring a control algorithm to decide on the insulin delivery. So there are three pumping algorithms which have historically become popular: the proportional integral derivative, the model predictive control, and recently the fuzzy logic. Let me now move on to some of the current publications and evidence using the artificial pancreas algorithms, and this is from the Canadian group Haida and his co-authors, and this is comparing the dual hormone and single hormone artificial pancreas with a conventional insulin pump therapy in children and adolescents with type 1 diabetes. And this is the percentage time spent in hypoglycemia at a glucose concentration below 72. So when compared to a conventional pump therapy or a single hormone artificial pancreas, with the use of a dual hormone artificial pancreas, they could document almost 0% occurrence of hypoglycemia, and probably another, historically maybe for the first time, almost complete elimination of nocturnal hypoglycemia with dual hormone systems. And simultaneously there are a lot of other groups across the globe conducting clinical trials with artificial pancreas, and this is Dr. Moshe Philip with one of his pretty patients undergoing clinical trial, and this is their publications on 56 type 1 diabetes patients receiving treatment with artificial pancreas and sensor augmented pump therapy. So almost all these clinical trials were comparing these devices with the insulin pump on the occurrence of hypoglycemia and on the percentage spent in hypoglycemia during the sleeping hours. And exciting because many of these are outpatient free living situations. And this is the MT lab system. It combines two control strategies. One is the CRM, which stands for control to range module, and CTM, control to target module, which aims to bring the patient's glucose to a specific target level in contrast to a desired range with CRM. So over to another path-breaking discovery, and this is the glucositter, an overnight automated closed-loop system for type 1 diabetes, again from Dr. Moshe Philip and his group. And this is on the safety and efficacy of a closed-loop MT logic artificial pancreas algorithm in controlling nocturnal glucose levels in type 1 diabetes. And this is on the time spent in hypoglycemia and in the time spent with the glucose level below a particular value during the sleeping hours, significantly lower with the use of glucositter algorithm. And this is another milestone. It was a year ago the Briamet Diabetes announced that it has licensed artificial pancreas technology for integration into the insulin pumps manufactured by Medtronic. And this has evolved. Glucositter software has evolved as the first ever artificial pancreas algorithm which has received a regulatory approval, and that was the CE mark in Europe, first time in the world. Broadly, there are two configurations for artificial pancreas. a single hormone using insulin alone, and dual hormone using both insulin and glucagon. And this is the artificial pancreas taxonomy. This is a bird's eye view, and this has been published in Diabetes Care. And you have the multiple sensors over here, multiple glucose sensors, the activity monitor, and this is the controller where you can fix a target glucose value, or you can decide on a range of glucose values. And these are the algorithms, MPSC, PAD, and fuzzy logic, which decides on the delivery of insulin either alone or in combination with multiple glucoregulatory hormones, either intraperitoneal or subcutaneous. Over to another truly sentimental discovery attached to artificial pancreas, and this is with bionic pancreas. And over here you see David Damiano, a child who was diagnosed of type 1 diabetes at the age of 11 months. And this is his mother, a pediatrician, his father, David, an engineer. And father used to wake up several times during the night in response to alarms. And he used to go near the child, measure the glucose values, adjust the insulin infusion rates in the insulin pump. It was a nightmare with brittle diabetes and type 1 diabetes. And it's always similar to a roller coaster ride. You don't know where the glucoses are going to be. And this son and this father, and they had a tough fight with diabetes, and this guy decided to conduct clinical trials in animals. Initially it was in pigs, and it started in 2004 when David was 5 years old. And the father tried to build a bionic pancreas working with Firas El-Kadhib, a senior research associate. And this was in pigs in 2005. And in 2006, Damiano delivered a lecture. When he left the podium, he was approached by a young researcher by name Dr. Stephen Russell at the Massachusetts General Hospital, Boston, who could appreciate the implications of this research, who wanted to translate this research into humans. He wanted to help build this technology of bionic pancreas in real human beings. And there started the unity. There started the meaningful, fruitful association between the engineer and the doctor. And that was bionic pancreas. And now, this is his dream. Dr. Damiano wants the bionic pancreas to be ready in time before his son David goes to the university. These were the initial designs of the bionic pancreas. These are the two T-slim insulin pumps, one with insulin and the other filled with glucagon. And this is the continuous glucose monitors, and this is the iPhone. At that time, iPhones were used for these clinical trials to hold the CGM and the algorithms. One pretty girl proudly displaying the iPhone bionic pancreas. I got it from the internet. And these are the ongoing clinical trials with bionic pancreas, many of them already published. These are the first two clinical trials, and they tested the two generations of bihormonal bionic endocrine pancreas systems in adults with type 1 diabetes, and the two 5-day clinical trials, the adults beacon health study, adolescents a summer camp study. And uniformly in all these clinical trials, the group was successful in demonstrating in all age groups lower time spent in hypoglycemia and lower instances of nocturnal hypoglycemia. And this is in 2016. day and night glycemic control with the bionic pancreas. A very recent publication, again demonstrating a significantly lower percentage of time spent in hypoglycemia. The median number of carb interventions given per participant for hypo on days 1 to 5 was lower during the bionic pancreas period. And this is one comparison. In the upper panel, the usual care, and in the lower panel, the bionic pancreas. A picture paints 1,000 words. You can see and believe that if you compare with the upper panel, most of the time the glucoses are within the normal range with bionic pancreas. And now the iPhone bionic pancreas has been replaced with a new design, the islet, by Damiano and his group. The one and only fully integrated and fully automatic bionic pancreas system. It looks very similar to iPhone, and this is how the CGM is wirelessly getting transmitted to the display in the device, and it's a very strange, unique design. Two pumps in one device. The islet houses two independent pumping systems, one for insulin and one for glucagon. And these pumps are automatically commanded by insulin and glucagon dosing algorithms once in every 5 minutes. And now the question on which are all the groups doing clinical trials, which are all the technologies either undergoing clinical trials or awaiting approval. And this is the big list of the future programs on artificial pancreas. Medtronic soon going to come out with 670G with glucose sitter algorithm, Tandem, and this is International Diabetes Closed Loop Consortium, the Diabetes Assistant, Cellnova, the Beta Bionics, and this is the dual chambered device, and this is Bigfoot Biomedical, and this is Animas from LifeScan, Insulet from Omnipod Group, Cellnova, and Roche probably going to launch soon a tiny device, and this is Cambridge. And back to India, and this was the news which got published when we initiated 640G in our center in Trivandrum. And this was probably the first generation artificial pancreas, the 640G, and this was probably the first generation artificial pancreas, very near to completely closing the loop, overcoming the biggest ever challenge in diabetes, and that is hypoglycemia. So the 640G is capable of eliminating hypoglycemia with the sense. And this is former Miss Kerala proudly presenting her 640G. And let us bring back the smiles in our patients, and let us bring technologies in diabetes. Let us overcome the barriers in treatment of diabetes. And the good news for all patients in diabetes, the good news for all physicians treating diabetes, very soon we are going to close the loop in diabetes. And thank you and goodbye from the GEMS diabetes team from Jothydev Diabetes and Research Centers in Kerala.